Sure, didn't you just make a video saying the Nova is a mixed bag? Yes, I did. So why are you saying now that it is the best IEM in the world? Well, because it is. Here's the thing. So in my initial review of the Nova, first of all, I was kind of like used to listening to the variations first because I was listening to it for a few hours before. Well, not really a few hours, but just generally before, and maybe that also biased my impressions. But the most important thing is the tips, or are the tips. So here we have the regular silicone tips that come with the Nova. It's the same tips that the variations uses, and also there are these double flange ear tips. The response in the treble is flawed with both of these tips. However, with the foam tips, we have something truly magical. And I am not exaggerating here. They have some... So on their website, they say something about how... What does it say? The foam ear tips with multiple limiters can meet the different needs of players for insertion depth and help to further improve the usability on the basis of comfortable wearing and excellent sealing. I don't know exactly what this means because I don't think you can really insert it that much deeper. I mean, I guess I'm like at the furthest setting. It's kind of like you can see that there are some ridges inside the barrel thing for the foam tips, and I feel like this has to do something. This has some effect on the tuning, because I also tried it with, or these same tips with the variations, and the treble didn't measure as well. But with this, really, it fixes all the complaints I had about the Nova originally. So I'll just show you this graph for comparison. First of all, we'll just look at the Nova with silicone tips versus these silicone tips versus the Nova with the foam tips. You can see that the treble extension is far superior on the Nova with the foam tips. There's also no 16 kHz peak. This is validated in Tone Generator. It sounds flawless up there. The bass impact is great. So I do think that the variation sounds a bit dark at like the 7 to 8 kHz region, and this doesn't have that. You know, sometimes it might come across as like a little bit forward in the 7 kHz region, and this might just be down to HRTF, but really I think this is worth it because the clarity you get is simply spectacular. Like I'm tearing up really just listening to this IEM and female vocal songs and anything really. It's just easily by far the best IEM I've heard. It destroys the Moondrop variation. So I have 2 units of Moondrop variations. Let me just show you. So here's the left unit from both of them. This is my old one. This is the new one. And what I want to show you here is the variations. So this is my old unit versus the Nova. You can see that the mid bass is, or lower mids is below the harmon target, and sub bass goes above, and it does come across as like sounding a little bit less clean in the bass. And the main thing is that it's a little bit more shouty. I don't know if this is that audible, but in the treble it is clearly recessed versus the harmon target, and I also do feel like it doesn't sound that clear and natural there. And the good thing about the variations, or the first unit though, is that the upper treble was like ridiculously good on this, especially with silicone tips. It sounds very linear, and if I pull up the Nova with silicone tips, you can see that it's dropping below the variations with silicone tips quite a bit, and it's not that good. You also have the 15 kHz peak, and it's just not really that great in performance. But if you look at my new unit of the variations, you can see that there's like an 11 kHz peak there, so that's not even that great in the treble, and I feel like the bass is less impactful on the new unit of the variations versus the Truthear Nova. And again, the 7 kHz region is too recessed on there compared to like perceived neutral. But with the foam tips on the Nova, it's just, my God, it's really like you're listening to the purest form of the recording imaginable. And the treble is even more linear than the Odyssey LCD5. And I mean, the Odyssey LCD5 is an over-ear, so you can really only say so much. You can only be so linear. But even versus my Neumann speakers, like this is around that level for treble linearity. Maybe it's a little bit brighter at 7 kHz, but I don't know. I feel like it's worth the trade-off there, and I don't really find it to be too harsh at any point. It's like, wow. Okay, so I'm just gonna go through some songs and really just like give you some impressions. Okay, so let's go to Bicycle by Chinga. Great bass impact. The treble clarity is unbelievable. Wow. You can hear everything so clearly. Wow. Yeah, like there's no reason for me to use the variations ever again. This is just on another level. This is the next level to the variations. You can even see the Harman predicted preference rating. We're getting like an 88, which is an extremely good score, essentially perfect. And even for qualities beyond the Harman score, you know, performance after 10 kilohertz is phenomenal with this IEM. And, you know, bass extension is even flat to 10 hertz, which the variations isn't doing. Like, I'm not joking, the bass is actually flat to 10 hertz. You can see that here. And the variations, on the other hand, rolls off quite a bit below 20 hertz compared to this. And I do think that actually does come across as a bit more impact on the Nova. And man, like, it's kind of cool that we finally have an IEM that's better. I do wish that this area wasn't so aggressive. Sometimes when I'm like walking outside, I can feel it like pushing up against my ear here. Maybe the Chinese engineers at Truthear, this isn't like meant to be racist, but maybe they have smaller ears than me, so they didn't like notice this. But that is like sometimes noticeable. It doesn't always come across though, and I haven't really tried it out with the foam tips walking around outside. Maybe I'll report that. Also, it's really easy to just get another cable if you want for this IEM, even though I think overall this is one of the best cables I've used, because this IEM again comes with correct polarity. Variations has inverted polarity. You have to do this weird thing with the modular cable with basically putting this in the wrong orientation. However you remove this thing, it's kind of confusing. But so you see this arrow, they want you to put this thing like on the inside here, but this gives it incorrect polarity, so you have to like do this, and the average consumer is not going to do this. Not to say that the average consumer even knows how to hear polarity, because they're probably not a trained listener such as myself, or even in other areas, but really, for a trained listener, I'd say this is the best IEM you will ever hear in your life. Like, full stop. This is just on another level. The treble clarity is out of this world. The bass impact is phenomenal. Amazing extension. There's no mud to be heard whatsoever. You have the clearest vocals with great impact. It doesn't come across shouty, even though you can see there's some 1.3 kilohertz energy over the Harman target. I don't find this to be shouty. It sounds fine. And man, like, this is it, really. Like, I can't think of anything really to improve over this IEM. It just sounds phenomenal. Let's play some more songs. So we'll go with Pantomime by WJSN from the Queendom 2 Fantastic Queendom Part 1 single. Guys, like, it's just disgusting how good these sound. I really can't like say anything about it because there's nothing wrong with it. It's just so good. And you know, you have reviewers saying it's bad or like whatever. These people have no idea what they're talking about. They are completely contradicting the blind test preference research. The most qualified researchers in the world have done at Harman. Like, this is it. Maybe really the only thing you could do is lower the 1.3 kilohertz region to meet the preference rating. That's arguably the only thing you could possibly do in this IEM, and I don't really find this to be an issue just listening to it now. Maybe if I blind tested versus that would come up, but really as it is with the foam tips, these sound flawless, basically. Or really as good as an IEM can possibly sound. Let's go with Unnatural by WJSN. It's just unreal. Like, you can't see me crying now because I used up all my tears before, but it's really so good that it just makes you want to cry. Like, and you have to consider all of the things I've heard, all of the, you know, studying I've done on this field and in this field, and to really hear something that meets all of the necessary criteria is just amazing, I think. Okay, let's compare that song we just heard, Unnatural by WJSN, to my first variations unit. It's clearly too recessed at 7 kilohertz. Bass sounds fine so far. It's just lacking at 7 kilohertz. Like, this is a very good IEM, but the Nova is just that much better, that it's clear as day that it is the superior IEM. And again, just have to stress that this is with foam tips. And there are other things too, like this is lighter than the variations. It's unibody design, so there's no chance of the faceplate falling off, and I don't think that the shell will crack as easily. It doesn't seem like it will. And, you know, it's just a beautiful IEM, I feel, as well. So those are just, like, other things. And, of course, it's cheaper than the variations by over 3 times. So, you know, it's not only does it sound better than the variations with the foam tips, you can buy 3 of them and still not have spent as much as the variations. So, again, a natural by WJSN. It's just so good, man. Okay, let's just play Last Sequence by WJSN on the Nova. Like, dude, the clarity is just phenomenal. Honestly, my only concern at this point is I don't know where to even buy replacement tips for these, because obviously as foam tips these will wear out at some point, and I don't see on Truthear's website where to buy these, or on Shenzhen Audio at all. And hopefully they answer when, because I asked like where to buy these. And also I'm not sure if this filterless design will hold up to earwax, because it was found on the Blessing 2 that was the most common warranty request. So they added the filters, and that also works with the variations. And the nozzle diameter is smaller on this, so I don't think the same filters will work anyway. But yeah, really, the concern, assuming that you can buy these foam tips aftermarket, maybe I'll also experiment with some other foam tips, and see if I can reproduce the performance of these, but I kind of doubt it. And man, other than that, I really just like cannot give a higher praise to the Truthear Nova with foam tips. It's just that good. These get the most gold stars I can give a product, really. And you also have this extremely low price that anyone can afford. And I really hope I see people around wearing the Truthear Nova and experiencing this phenomenal sound quality on a daily basis. So yeah, that's the end of this updated review. I'd like to give a shout out to Bicep, James, Lesbian, Tripped, Christopher Yu, the RFL Reaper, DMS Bring Us, Ninja Come 3, and Waytaker. Thank you guys a lot for supporting the channel. Be sure to join the Apple Last Discord server if you haven't. I'll see you guys next time. I'm out.